Okay, so our third section features Mimi and Mushky, who met as sisters-in-law, who bonded over the struggle of finding well-made yet affordable clothing that fit their minimalistic aesthetic. Fashion lovers, but not trained in design, they joined forces to make the clothing they wanted to wear and launched Mimu Maxi from their Brooklyn base in 2013, drawing on the spiritual depth of their ancestry and Jewish law. Popular immediately within their Hasidic community, Mimi and Mushky have from the start designed for and engaged with women from a variety of religious and spiritual backgrounds. Featured in Vogue, Refinery 29, Huffington Post, and the New York Times, Mimi and Mushky also provide routes to dialogue with a lively Instagram page that regularly features posts from women of different faiths and encourages reflection on a variety of religious interpretations within faith communities. And this talk will also be moderated by Reina Lewis.
Because is this on?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to control the PowerPoint from here. So if you two want to sit there, then I can see you, and you'll only be a little bit taller.
Okay.
And you were going to start off with a little bit of an intro, yeah?
A little bit of intro. Okay, I don't know how we could beat that one. I made it sound really cool. Yeah, Mushky and I are Orthodox Jewish, actually in the Hasidic Chabad community. Is it? Yeah. We both live in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and we are sister-in-laws. Mushky is married to my brother, which is how we met, but I joke that they married so that we could be friends and business partners. We grew up keeping the laws of modesty. For Orthodox Jews, it's covering the knees, covering elbows, and collarbone. And we bonded over the fact that we've always been frustrated at the lack of options out there, especially for our taste and budget. So we, raising our kids in Brooklyn, we both have two boys at the time. She had one, and I just had my second. We kind of decided to take matters into our own hands and design a line that we felt there was the type of clothing that we could wear and wanted to wear, which immediately took off in our immediate surrounding. And very soon after, and this is 4 years ago, and very soon after became popular among other people who either were interested in modest fashion or had to dress modestly themselves, or who were just interested in this kind of, the dialogue that I think we were introducing to social media and to various communities. Sorry, I know I usually think I'm so loud. And
we need to capture
right, for the podcast. Okay, I'll get better, Reina. And since launching our line, we ship all over the world. You could shop at our website, mimimaxi.com. And of course, our social media, specifically our Instagram, is very alive with, who we are as Jewish women, and, kind of keeping this conversation alive of what it means to be religious in America, keep modest fashion, and sharing who we are as authentic as we can. So, anything to add to that, Mushky?
That was great. Everything that you said, and we were just, having these guidelines that we followed of modesty. Before modesty was, I think, what it is today, a little bit more on trend and a little more popular. It was hard to shop. It was hard to go into stores and really find something that you liked. It was more just okay, what in this store is modest? And that's basically, I have 5 options from the 100 options, and then which one do I like or hate the least, or whatever.
Yeah.
However you want to look at it, and as someone who feels like they have a certain way that they want to dress, and they care about what they're wearing a lot, and feel like it's a really strong representation of themselves, and they don't, and going into store and being so limited, and then limited again, and then being okay, what do I somewhat like, was really hard. And that's where we were just okay, especially if you don't have thousands and thousands of dollars to spend at every store there is. So we really just wanted to be able to feel comfortable in our clothing and feel like we were wearing what we wanted to wear and not feel restricted and burdened by modesty. So we really, basically we're let's just start and see what happens, and it's been great.
And voila. And this is your page, our brand, that talks about what you do and why. And you started in summer 2012, and then launched formally in 2013. Now, by that time, a niche market for modest fashion was beginning. Was a few years into being established. but I think you still felt like you were entering a new sector, that you still felt like pioneers. And I was very interested in positioning your website. You do use the word modest, and I know with some of the earlier brands and designers that I was speaking to from sort of 2005 onwards, some people had used modest and some people didn't. Some people like modest because it doesn't signal a particular faith, and other people felt that if they were trying to sell to the mainstream fashion industry to get their line taken in a store, modest in fashion terms was the kiss of death.
Right.
So I wonder how you found the term modest, both in terms of expressing what you so clearly want for your spiritual and ethical and social position, and as a business proposition.
Right. So we obviously grew up using the word modest, and to us it's just the way we dress, you know. Is it modest? You're shopping, is this modest enough? It's just a regular term, but you definitely find that growing up, and when you start talking to other people and you're out in the world, modesty doesn't necessarily have the most positive, you know, especially before there were more options, more fashionable, on-trend options. Modesty means frumpy, it means outdated, it means, it just, and then aside for all the cultural, religious connotation it could have that could sometimes be negative, which is I think what many of us in this room are changing. So for us, we were like, that is the reason we're starting this, so we're gonna put that front and center. The fact of the matter is that every single piece we design is perfectly modest according to the highest Jewish code for any Jewish woman to wear. So everything we design, unless it's, we do have some things that are slips that we promote. And then obviously also if you are in a niche market, it's like put it out there. Don't try and blend in to everything else. It's almost like a good marketing move, like this is what we are and let's put that front and center because it's the truth of what we're doing. So.
And some people didn't like the term modest because they felt like it has sometimes connotations of being putting yourself backwards, being shy or self-abnegating, that you shouldn't have your voice heard, that you shouldn't be speaking, and you know, you're calling for a revolution.
Right, so that's part of what's exciting for us about using the word modesty, because given how we put ourselves front and center and we're very loud, outspoken women who put our lives out there and everything, it's when you hear modesty, you think repressed, and you think somebody who's just demure and hiding themselves, and we're out there to say, no, modesty is so much more than about what you're covering, it's also about what you're revealing. So it's very important for us to use the word because it kind of, it's changing people's perceptions and saying, you could be modest and also just loud and sometimes even wild, and we post videos and stories when we go out to eat or when we just, you know, are vocalizing our opinions and we dress modestly, like, ooh, you know, that's a shocker for some people.
And you're not just modest, you're minimalist modest. So there's a particular aesthetic here as well, which follows on beautifully from the questions and the points we had earlier about what types of styles get used. So this is one of the pages from your website showing your skirt leggings styled in different ways. I know this is one of your best-selling products. Yeah. What fascinates me is that you are minimalist modest, which is the style that you most favoured and that you wanted. But that also you have women who are Muslim, who are Jewish, who are Christian, from different faith groups, women who don't identify in terms of faith, and also a sizable plus size market of women who are also seeking clothes. So why is minimalism important for you, not just in terms of aesthetic, but in terms of how it deals with the body? Microphone.
I mean, we when we started, it was about what we weren't finding that we wanted to wear, and so that continues to be something that leads us as we, you know, expand our company, and so we really like minimalistic clothing. You know, we like to, you know, accessorize sometimes with something a little louder, but we like things that are more timeless and that, you know, you don't have to keep buying a whole new wardrobe every season. And it's easy, and we both are moms on the go, and it's like just simple and easy and comfortable and really just what we like to wear. And it's great because it really does, you know, appeal to so many people. I mean, our stuff appeals to anybody who wants to dress modestly that isn't Jewish. And we have many customers who aren't. We have many customers who aren't even looking to dress modestly. They just like the pieces, which is always great. And, you know, and plus size it also just works really well for, and we love being able to provide something that started from like what we want to wear, we weren't finding, but is really reaching so many different types of people from all backgrounds and religions and sizes, and it's really been great.
Yeah, and I think before we started, at least I don't know if it's similar in the Muslim community with fashion, what was available, but for us, if you're gonna get something that covers, it's usually gonna be in a crazy print, very busy, and very just like try and catch your attention and try so hard to be fashion forward and modest. And I think that's where the plus size community comes in. I think they have the same issue because they're like, oh, people are trying to make things that fit us, but they're not paying any attention. You know, there's two restrictions, so to speak. You know, with modesty, it's that it has to cover a certain area, and with plus size women, it's like it has to fit. And there's just been this complete disregard for actually it being beautiful, quality, maybe simple, versatile clothing. So we definitely noticed right away with our pieces that we were attracting a more the plus size community, which is really exciting, and we expanded our sizes right away, and we're very proud of that.
And then that's also, when we were talking earlier about ethics and sustainability, catering to different body sizes and body types is also an ethical decision as well, and it has cost implications too. I was talking with Nazinga Knight, the Muslim fashion designer who was on Project Runway, wasn't she? And she does mainly evening wear, and she was saying she has a lot of plus size clients as well. Now her aesthetic is a different aesthetic to yours, although some pieces overlap. But it really struck me that there is a different group of women who also want to be able to cover and clothe their bodies in different ways. And what strikes me as well about your aesthetic, and as the market flourishes, we'll see all sorts of aesthetics being available, is that it's also something that lends itself to women's professional working lives, as well as their home lives and their social lives. When we talk about women's professional lives, I want to think for a minute about professionalizing the modest fashion field. And Whitney wrote about, you had a very interesting post about Christian Fashion Week, I think a couple of years ago, that you felt that they were privileging startup designers, which is fine, but treating them as if they were established designers. And so there isn't really a sense of scale about what's important. And I know that Rabia Zarpaga, who does Rabia Z out of Dubai, has also spoken before about we have to get beyond the bedroom startup. You know, young women sewing sequins onto a couple of scarves and saying, I'm a modest fashion designer. Do you see that as you grow your business, do you see that the sector generally is beginning to professionalize more, or do you still feel it's a rarity?
I probably lean more towards the case you're making that it is a rarity. I know for us, I think we leverage that and we use that for our own brand. We're not trying to be big designers or trying to necessarily make it into. I mean, obviously everybody wants to make it big, but I think today, when you talk about the fashion industry, people are very disenfranchised. Is that the right word? Disenfranchised by big fashion. And I think when you have bloggers and smaller businesses that are making it personal, I think is very intriguing to a lot of people who might even care to follow the big fashion world and street style and big fashion bloggers and designers. To us, we don't see that as being like, you know, the underdog or it being like a bad thing. We use that as part of our brand and part of our story, which appeals very much to the kind of people that we want to appeal to.
I'm going to take us now to one of the things that got you a lot of attention, not just for your product, but for your commitment to reaching out to women from different faith communities. This was in the summer of 2014 when you did a collaboration with, do you want to tell us about it actually, rather than me summarize?
Sure. We often on our Instagram page collaborate with different bloggers who, you know, we send them stuff and they'll post the photo and then we'll often repost it, and that, you know, helps grow our followers and expand our business. And we had seen this page. Her name at the time was Hipster Hijabis. That was her Instagram name, but her name was Summer Al Barha, and we sent her a skirt. She really loved it. She posted this picture, and we regrammed it a few days later, and it caused a little bit of controversy because at the time there was a really intense war going on in Israel, and a lot of people, not a lot, but some people had had a strong reaction to like a Jewish brand at a sensitive time posting our designs with someone wearing a hijab. We didn't go into who she was or what, you know, her beliefs were. It was just a fashion post. It wasn't, you know, she was wearing a hijab. It didn't mean anything about anything that she had to do with politics or war or you know, anything. It was just somebody wearing our stuff. And we post any picture that we like of anybody wearing our stuff, we'll post it. It's not even like, you know, about who they are. It's just about bringing everyone together through this one, you know, platform. And so there were some people who took somewhat issue with it in the comments, and it kind of became viral very quickly. And well, what happened after that, let me continue the story because she wrote this next part.
So I'm going to interject here, which is to say the criticism came mainly from women or people from within the Jewish community.
Yes. Within minutes of the post, I was alerted to the fact, and me and Mushky were kind of like WhatsApping each other, like, what is going on? That there were some comments coming in, nothing hateful or anything crazy. It was the subtlety. It was what they were suggesting that was so crazy, was that somehow she is a terrorist because she's in a hijab. Now, obviously, that's insane. But it basically revealed a lot of Islamophobia from a lot of our customers, or I don't know if they're our customers, but just Jewish. We obviously have a lot of Jewish fans who are rooting us on. And there were a lot of people who just, I think the visual of it was just so shocking to them because, you know, they relate to us as being these outspoken Jewish women, like, you're on our team, you know, why are you posting a picture of a Muslim woman, especially at a time like this when tensions are running high between us? So now obviously to us, this was not something that, you know, there were some people accused us of it being like a ploy to like get attention during this time, and like, oh, of course you post it when there's war in Israel because we're all so sensitive right now. And the story was featured in so many media outlets the following days. We were contacted by so much press, and it was just, we could not believe that this turned into such a big deal. Obviously, when these negative comments came in, there was equal, if not more, amounts of Jewish people who were like embarrassed by these comments. And even some people who made these negative comments later came and apologized and were like, wow, you really taught us a lesson about, you know, like, are these beliefs that we have. But we were forced to come out with a statement because we weren't just going to ignore these comments, and I think this is what took.
And you posted a Facebook response.
Yeah, we posted a Facebook response, used the photo again, and basically, to summarize, I mean, you could easily search it up on our Facebook and Instagram, and we were basically like, we're standing by this 100%. Summer is somebody that we relate to and share many values with. Our political beliefs, which we don't even know what they are, that might differentiate us, are irrelevant here, and we will continue to use our platform as an opportunity to connect with other people, especially those people who you might think we differ from. And we stood by the post, and we felt very strongly about it, and I think it was a beautiful thing.
And you also quoted a rabbi.
Yes.
Because I saw this, and what I thought was, and Summer also issued statements saying that she stood by it, and you know, she wasn't holding you responsible for what was happening in Israel and Palestine.
It was a real bonding
experience. You holding her.
Right.
And this is you guys, you in the studio for HuffPost TV and her down the line on a video link. And one of the things that struck me was that you had a quote from Rabbi Manis Friedman, and I thought that you putting rabbinical support for your position there was very interesting. And when we spoke about this the other day, you said something about why you did that.
Yeah. So I felt it's interesting because so much about the way Mushky and I run our business has to do with our inherent values and our intuition, and we don't necessarily make decisions because a rabbi told us to, or our parents would prefer we do it this way, or this is how we were raised. It's very much to do with our instinct and our emotion and just who we are. So it's interesting because I felt when there was all this backlash, and our hearts were like, what do you mean we did the right thing? We don't need a rabbi to tell us we did the right thing. It happens to be that I was very gracious and very happy in the end that my husband encouraged me to just talk it out, just to go through some of the thoughts and feelings we were having and try to gain some even deeper perspective. And I'm happy I did, because at the end of the day, people were upset about, the Jewish religious people that were upset about the photo were using religion to attack our decision to post it. And I kind of felt like coming back and just being like, well, I know deeply this to be right, was like, you know what, no, actually, our religion says this is how we should behave, and this is how we should. I felt making a deeper statement about Judaism intrinsically, not just about us and our value, obviously it's the same thing, and that's how we run our business, but using, you know, he's actually a very respected rabbi in our community, very well known, and I have a personal relationship with him, and I felt like, no, you could quote and say whatever you want, but this is Judaism, and this is real and right and intrinsically, and I felt that quoting him made it a little bit easier for people to kind of take in and made a difference.
And you talked about, you framed it as it's a mitzvah, you know, in Jewish terms it's a good and honourable deed to be supporting other women, however foreign or distant, or the more quote foreign or distant the better.
I mean,
and
on the most
especially at this
basic level,
time.
yeah, on the most basic level, if you, obviously we keep modesty differently. I mean, I don't know the totally in-depth laws of modesty in the Muslim community, but I believe a lot of it is different than ours. But it's essentially the same, that we have to keep some modicum of modesty. So that's very hard for anyone. So, and especially living in America, and especially just living in our culture, trying to hold on to some semblance of modest ideals, is very hard, and we're in that together. So we might have a lot of differences, even in the way we keep modesty, and differences about the way we view the world, or what's going on in Israel, or politics, or whatever it is, but at the end of the day, like, we're all kind of going through this together, and if we could, you know, join arms, so to speak, and come together and use that as an opportunity to connect, then that is definitely a beautiful thing, and Judaism thinks that that's a beautiful, good thing.
And one of the things that struck me in thinking about the way that Whitney, in some of your posts, you've given, you know, verse by verse exegesis of some of the biblical verses that relate to modesty, is that actually, you know, engaging with the fabric of the religious teachings is a really interesting development that I'm seeing. You know, it might be the unspoken background for a lot of people, but that when women are actually engaging with that more detailed relationship with the sources and with the teaching and the teachers, then that's very interesting.
Yeah, and I'll also add that, you know, like, there's, and I'm sure this is true in many religions, where you have like the source, where it comes from, and there's, everybody kind of takes their own thing they take from it, and they adapt, and they, you know, react to the world and to others with that, you know, their interpretation of it. And even also in Judaism, there's a lot of people who will have a source in their mind that they're not exactly using the right way, and they're using it to justify their actions, but in fact it's not really at all what that is meant to be for. And really, really, especially in our Chabad community, our Chabad Rebbe, who's no longer alive, he brought out a very important message, which was always to connect with others over your shared connection and common good, and not with anybody you're going to find something that you can argue about, even with your best friend, even with your spouse, and much more so someone from another religion who there happens to be real tensions in the Middle East, and, you know, continuous tensions. And so you're always going to find, you can always find something to disagree on, and you can always find something that you can agree on and connect on. I don't think there's any two people in the world who you can't find something you connect on, whether it's just the basic fact that you need to eat and sleep to get through the day, and that's real, and that's, you know. And so in Judaism, we really believe that we should be focusing on the good and connection and bringing positivity into the world and into other people's lives. And that post, which is why we stood by it so strongly, was exactly all of those things. It was connection, it was positivity, it was celebrating someone else's style, and there was absolutely nothing that was wrong against Judaism, offensive in any way, which is why we stood by it 100%, and which is why people actually came to us who were like, wow, I actually wasn't seeing this clearly, and I'm sorry that I reacted from such an emotional place, and you've actually opened my eyes to the fact that I've been reacting wrongly to these types of things, and skewing and using my religion to like blame others for acting a certain way, and really it is the right thing, you know. It's, if you don't get your emotions involved and think about, you know, everything else that you're bringing into it, and it's just really just connecting on something that's good is good, you know, period.
And you're very clear that fashion, as with other forms of social interaction, but through your business, can be a conduit for community building and building a community of women that crosses divides within and between faiths. And this is a post from this year, I think. You invited people to send in a post of them wearing one of your items for Eid. Yeah. And it struck me that on one hand we're talking about the mainstream industry suddenly waking up to the fact that, oh hey, Muslim women like fashion, or, you know, some Jewish people might want special food, or, you know, it's Diwali, let's stock the supermarkets with the right products. and then here's you reaching out, you know, presumably somewhere, you put in your calendar, send the post about Eid in time to get the Eid.
Actually not. You know, like I said, we very much are into just feeling the pulse of what's happening, and the fact of the matter is that we have Muslim customers. We actually had a sale before this this post. I think it was like a week-long sale. And I noticed in the comments that people were tagging their friends, oh my God, perfect for Eid. Apparently it's a custom, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is what people were saying, to wear something new. Yeah. So we also, for a lot of our holidays, it's actually, we have laws about husbands buying their wives something, or you specifically wearing something new. Voila, another connection we have.
So you found it out from the customer comments?
Yeah, people were like tagging each other, oh my God, and then people were emailing us, will this come in time for Eid? And of course I'm like, okay, I don't even know what that is. I know what it is, but I don't know exactly what. It's not on my personal calendar, and it's not on our business calendar, but we were getting feedback from our customers. So we're like, I felt it was just something in the climate, and that there was gonna be so many beautiful, amazing women who were choosing to buy from a Jewish company to wear on their Muslim holiday. I was like, boom, that's beautiful, let's put that out there, that's real, and that's what's happening.
And here's another one of your Muslim customers looking fabulous in one of your garments. And I think therefore what's really interesting is you didn't know that from market research, but that's something that e-commerce has done, which is transmitted that information to you, and you were receptive to hearing it. So for me, one of the things that's really interesting, we might want to think about what are the downsides of finding our religious selves commodified within the market. And there's also a sense of the possible upsides. So I don't want to be the poster girl for neoliberal consumer capitalism. I don't think shopping is going to bring world peace. But I do think it's really interesting to see.
Well, we actually spoke about this a little bit the other day, but it won't, you know, snap your fingers bring world peace, but I think on a deeper sense when we talk about our mission and what we see happening and the emails we get, and if you are somebody that believes in the cliche of small deeds and every small step making a big difference, which we certainly do, I think that things like this, and we saw it in the responses originally with Summer's post, if you could change people's minds, then you could bring world peace. So
I stand
through the shopping. But you're right in terms of, I guess, on the more like commerce level of like clicking shop does not bring world peace, but if you enliven that experience with a brand and a mission and a dialogue, I think it can.
Well, and that brings us back to the point earlier about what is the ethics and the issue about social sustainability. That is part of the modest fashion mission. And I've just put up here your Yom Kippur post. Because I wanted to ask you to just say a little bit about, one of your followers said this was a perfect Yom Kippur sermon. You know, they really liked it. And so I wanted to ask you to say a little bit more about the time and effort it takes to build this community, because it does take time. Managing your social media does take time. Thinking about what people want in your designs does take time. Have you met since the Summer al-Bauck episode? Have you met any opposition to your very conscious outreach and connectivity?
Absolutely not. Actually, as Mushky said, the community there's so many different communities within Judaism, and the community, intrinsically Judaism is very much about outward and loving thy neighbor and everything. So our community, our Hasidic community specifically, you know, when you hear the word Hasidic, you think black and white and the women who wear the hats on top of the wigs, and our Hasidic community is anything but insular and is very much about you know, shining your light on the world, not being missionaries, but really putting yourself outward, out in the world, and integrating the world within your religion. So I think that people who are Jewish followers think it's amazing, you know, and they're very proud of us, and they express so as much. And I think in general, I think it seems to be that we're attracting, kind of building this community that all has that as an ideal. I don't think we've ever gotten any really just the Summer story, I think that the backlash from that a little bit, but in general, people love being part of this dialogue and this conversation. I don't think of our Instagram posts as sermons, but I think I remember a comment like that. I think that in general, religion, especially for young people in America now, is definitely, you know, religion has been a dirty word, but people are seeing now that, you know, and I think what fascinates a lot of people when they see us on social media is like, what? They're Jewish, they're religious, they wear wigs, and they're super cool and love fashion and can talk to me normally, you know. I try to keep in mind, you know, Mushky and I deliberate, it does take a lot of time. We deliberate and talk about what we want to communicate a lot. I do the actual writing usually. And I definitely try to keep my mind on, you know, you have to know who you're talking to. And if I was just talking to the Jewish community, I would use terms and language that we all knew and grew up with. And I find that when I'm writing something to our community, it's almost this like meditative, spiritual process of stripping things down and just getting to the core of what's just human. And then when you do that, you come up with terms like light and compassion and commonality. And it's not about religion, but it's about, and that was, I think, the point of that, very much about that post, but it's about the relationship. And I think that when you focus on the relationship and how there's inspiration for each of us to find in each other's religions, which is like, what, really, seriously? Yes, it's true. And when you just talk on a more foundational level, I think that speaks to a lot of people, at least the kind of people that we want to surround ourselves by.
And are people outside of the modest fashion community paying attention to this? Are the rabbis listening? Are the imams listening? Do you know?
We don't care.
I mean, we get, you know, a lot of recognition within our community and the Jewish world, which we are connected to, with positive feedback and encouragement, and in general, I mean, most people we encounter have been very positive and supportive of what we're doing.
I have a couple more questions, but I think I should open for contributions and questions from the floor. Yeah, Whitney. Thank you, Hecht. So Hecht is being our Olympic champion.
The first.
Thank you. Since your ethics and your thoughts about religion are obviously important to how you think about clothing, is the ethics of production, of sourcing your fabrics and manufacturing, is that a part of what you guys think about at this point?
Do you want? So I'm gonna give you a very honest answer. In the beginning, when we just got started, we had no idea how big this would become, and we did not really give it any thought. It happens to be right now in terms of fabric sourcing. It's something we are giving a lot of thought to, especially as our customers become more concerned about it. And as Jewish women who do have standby laws and ethics, it's important to us to know where things are coming from. And it's something that for now, what we have immediate control of is where our stuff is made. Everything's made in the US. We know who's making it. We personally oversee, we're still a very small business, and we personally oversee production. So we're very at hand to what's happening, and very proud of the way it's being done and who's doing the job and how much they're getting paid and how they're being treated. And we're very proud of that. We're finding it a little harder in terms of fabric sourcing to find out like exactly where things are coming from and you know the story with that, but we're definitely very compelled to continue to try and get answers to those questions, and definitely very strongly believe that you can't be a Jewish business, so to speak, not that I would necessarily label us a Jewish business, but Jewish women who are putting our own values out there. It's got to be 100%. You can't, you know, there can't be people losing out because of what you're doing, and you know, it can't hurt people. We believe that there's got to be, you know, some transparency, and the ethics have to follow all the way through, not just in the words on our Instagram page. So,
Thank you. Anyone else? At the back. You've got a long way to run from you.
A guy. Okay. Can everybody hear me?
We need it recorded for the podcast.
All right.
Thank
Assalamu
you.
alaikum.
Yeah.
Okay. I find today's discussion to be very, very interesting. Let me see what I had here as far as my question. My question was, how much does the Western world influence the trend in the stylish modern fashion?
How much does the Western world influence?
Does the Western world have an influence with this new trend in modest fashion? And because as far as that's one question. That's just one question I have.
Okay.
I'm sorry, man.
So Hecht is running with the microphone. There you go.
So that's an interesting question because